Rearmed Sonya brings Arcane Caliburnus as the Arcane Green Tome for all of the green mages, and in this video I'll be going over the best users of it and the builds that you can run with this weapon. Of course you should be spoiling your favorites, but if you have multiple favorites then this video can help you decide. So Arcane Caliburnus is a 14 might green tome that gives you minus on special cooldown, and if the HP of the unit is at or above 25%, then you can get +5 to all of these stats and also get guaranteed follow-up attack in the combat. It also provides you with special charge +1 on both your attacks and the enemy's attacks. So this is really helpful for triggering high cooldown specials. And finally, it has got the dull attack resistance, which pretty much neutralizes any kind of visible buffs of the opponent to their attack and resistance. So this could be helpful for many of the bulkier mages. If they want to tank, they are just going to be ignoring the visible buff of the enemy's attack, and also they can hit harder by ignoring the visible buff to their resistance. And special charges is something that is not really easily available to the Fliers and Cavaliers because they don't have access to Flashing Blade or Flash Sparrow, and Heavy Blade is the only thing that they've gotten. And this can also help the Infantry mages not run any of those skills or even the Pledge skills and simply get the special charges out of this weapon. This also provides you with the guaranteed follow-up attack, so a lot of these slower mages are going to be appreciating this kind of weapon because they don't really have to run any kind of other skill to get that follow-up attack. Overall, this is a decent weapon that can help many of the green mages, especially if they are slow, and this can also help them in terms of the nuking because it does give you these special charges, which is pretty good to have in a weapon. And even though this is not the most insane weapon, it is still going to be the best option for so many of the green mages. It's also worth keeping in mind that we have gotten multiple arcane weapons of the same weapon type, and usually the second one is a lot more specialized for the faster units like Arcane Devourer, Arcane Lewin, Arcane Darkbow. So maybe in the future we can get an Arcane Green Tome that is more suited for the faster units, but until then they can still make use of Arcane Caliburnus and still get the special charges and the effects out of it. And now let's move on to the tier list, and these are going to be my tiering criterias, and stats matter a lot when we're talking about any kind of arcane weapon. So even if you think I've placed a unit in the wrong tier, I'm still going to be showing off their stats on the side so you can compare them yourself and then make an educated decision. So when it comes to the Infantry Green Mages, Tea Time Tale 2 is going to be at the top with her offensive stat spread of 49 base attack and 51 base speed, and right below her is going to be her son Arthur, who also didn't really come with a preferred weapon. Tale 2 has got more resistance while Arthur has got more defense. Asbel is also here because his preferred weapon is not really all that great. So Graph Caliber is going to be giving you that effective damage against Fliers, and it also has the dull all effect. So you're going to be able to ignore even the speed buffs of the enemy, which you can already do with Arcane Caliburnus, but still overall I think this weapon is a bit of an upgrade from his preferred weapon because of the special charges that he can get. And then we've got Nino, one of the most popular merge project options from back in the day, and her weapon refine has definitely aged, so she can easily make use of this weapon even now with her offensive stat spread. And we now move on to more bulkier stat spreads, with Bastion having the highest attack out of any of these green mages with 51 attack and also 52 resistance, so that allows him to easily make use of the ploy skills and also hit really hard with Iceberg and Glacies. So he can be really bulky on the magical side. And we also have young Ileana and Limstella here, which might seem a bit weird because their preferred weapons are actually still pretty decent. The main problem with their weapons is that it provides them with the follow-up negation and not the guaranteed follow-up attack. So if they want to get that, then they have to run Brash Assault 4, Quicker Post, or something like that to get the follow-up attack. But if you run this Arcane Green Tome, then they can just get the guaranteed follow-up attack and instead run Special Spiral. And because this weapon also has minus on special cooldown, it does go well with the high resistance of Ileana and Limstella. Piercing through the damage reduction while still having the guaranteed follow-up attack can be a pretty nice alternative option that you can have. And if you're big fans of them and you want to mix up their builds until their weapon refines, which is definitely pretty far away, then this Green Tome can be a pretty good option with their stat spreads. And Limstella does have pretty good defense for a green mage along with resistance and having good attack stat. Orochi also is here and she doesn't really have the greatest preferred weapon, so this can be a pretty nice tome for her. And then we're going to be finishing off tier 1 with Riken and Rajat. Rajat surprisingly has pretty decent offensive stat spread after her Resplendent stats, so she can also make use of this weapon. And Riken does have the attack and speed super boon, Moving on to tier 2, we do start off with Spring Sharina, and her weapon is, kind of decent with its healing, but that kind of healing role could be done by many of the other units at this point. So if you want to have a different weapon, then this could be the option. And Lou's Weapon Refine is mainly just giving him a lot of stats. So if you want to get the effects from this weapon, then it could also work for him with his offensive stat spread and his resistance. Luthier is definitely a bit far away for his Weapon Refine as a demote unit, so until then this could be a good green tome, and even after all these years, Summer Elise can still make use of this weapon with her offensive stat spread. Julia and Deirdre can make use of their attack stat and their resistance stat for nuking and also for running the ploy skills. And then tier 2 is going to be ending off with Sonya and Soren. So even though Sonya's weapon is still pretty decent with the special charging, we can easily outsource it to a lot of the other allies at this point, and you can easily loop Glacies with her weapon. So that is something you could do if you got her from the Hall of Forms. And Soren also really appreciates this kind of weapon over his Weapon Refine. And Soren should be getting a resplendent version hopefully soon. We also have female Robin and Merrick starting the tier 3 off. So they are the mages with higher defense and also a bit higher speed. Merrick has got a bit less attack but more speed, while Robin has got a bit more attack. We also have 2 refreshers in tier 3, and it doesn't really affect them too much because at the end of the day they're just going to be refreshing, and you can just run some other tomes that can maybe provide more support. But still, if you want them to enter the combat, then this weapon could be a nice option. And young Azura, aka Puddles, does have more resistance and attack than Inigo, while Inigo has got a bit more speed. And finally we have got Bowie, who doesn't really have very high attack or speed or even resistance, and mainly has got high defense, but still he can make use of this weapon along with Bonfire and Ignis. There are definitely many of the green mages who don't really want to have this kind of arcane weapon, and they already have good preferred weapons. Even someone like Lewin, who got a Weapon Refine really long time ago, he still has that dive bomb effect, and now with Magical Null follow-up, attack speed pledge, he can definitely make pretty good use out of it. And if you're a big young Merrick or Fallen Leon fan, then you could definitely try and wait until their Weapon Refine, which should be happening within a year. And Merrick is going to be next in line for the seasonal refine, so he could get a refine at worst until February 2024, and it could even happen before that. And then we've got Leon, who should be getting a Weapon Refine early next year. Now let's go over some of the sample builds that you can run on these green mages. Obviously I'm not going to be able to give a build for every single green mage, but you can easily run the same build on your unit if they have similar stat spread, or if you want to stack up these certain stats. So starting with the optimal speed stacking build, you can easily run Remote Sparrow for the damage reduction, and Infantry mages do have access to Fliers, so that could be a really good option for getting the healing, especially by using the damage reduction of these Sparrow skills and then simply healing up the damage. And Magical Null follow-up is easily one of the best slot B skills that you can run on any kind of Infantry green mage, because not only it provides you with Null follow-up that can shut down the guaranteed follow-up attack of the enemies, but it also gives you the damage reduction shredding. And that's a huge thing because we have a lot of damage reduction now. So Magical Null follow-up could be run on these kinds of faster mages, and then you can stack up even more offenses with something like Attack Speed Oath 4 and Blade Session. With this arcane weapon, Flare does become a 2 cooldown special, so even if the enemy has got any kind of guard skills, you're still going to be able to trigger Flare on your double attack, which is really good for the healing. If you're going to be running this on a unit with higher attack and resistance, then you can easily run Special Spiral 4 and Resistance Refine this weapon and run Iceberg, and you can get Attack Resistance Ploy at the same time from Rearmed Sonya. So not only you can have more damage output with this, but you can also support your allies with the debuffs and also the Ploy status that you can inflict on the enemies and the exposure status. And you can just stack up the visible resistance with Still Water 4 and Still Water Sacred Seal, and Bastion can just reach insane amounts of visible resistance with this kind of build. So Iceberg is something that can be charged up with this weapon, and then you can loop it with Special Spiral 4, and once you've got it pre-charged, then you can actually trigger Iceberg twice in a single round of combat if the enemy does not have any kind of guard skill. So that can do a lot of damage, especially with the true damage of Special Spiral 4 and its damage reduction piercing. So on the Infantry green mages, if you're going to be running any kind of slot B, then Special Spiral 4 and Magical Null follow-up are easily the 2 best options, because Infantry units have access to damage reduction piercing, and that is so valuable when we have so much damage reduction with the dot skills, with Gambit, Guard Bearing 4 and stuff like that. So it's really important that you make use of these skills that are available for these Infantry units. which is not the case with the Fliers or Cavaliers, and they are going to be struggling against damage reduction. Obviously, there are going to be other options that you can run, like a tempo skill for example, but even then, like piercing through the damage reduction is easily one of the most important things as a mage nuke, and with this kind of weapon, you can easily charge up the special for Special Spiral 4 and also trigger your specials when you double. Flare is going to be giving you the healing, but you can get a lot higher damage output by running something like Iceberg, and because we get the special charges out of this weapon, Finnish guilds do have excellent synergy with it, and you can easily run a special like Iceberg or Luna or even Flare so that you can easily trigger it even against the enemies that have guard skills when you double attack, and you can get the healing and the true damage out of the Finnish skill. You can also run this with the Unity skills, and Attack Speed Oath 4 is going to be having good synergy with that, and with the Unity skills you can easily stack up these stats by making use of Grand Strategy of Legendary Robin, or if you're going to be facing a lot of debuffs. So that is also a route that the faster mages can take if they want to stack up the speed using the debuffs. You can also run Special Spiral 4 with the Finnish skill so that you can get plus 10 true damage on your special triggers. And since we're not going to be running Magical Null Follow-Up, you can almost make up like a bootleg Null Follow-Up by running Attack Smoke 4 by getting the follow-up negation out of it. And as it is, Arcane Caliburnus does give you the guaranteed follow-up attack, so it could be useful on a unit like Female Robin for example, and you can also run these Squad A seals, especially the recent ones that we have gotten, which are really good for giving you extra HP and also extra stats. You can also run Remote Mirror on these slower units who have high resistance and run Iceberg and a Ploy skill, again which you can get at the same time from Sonya, and this is going to be enabling you to have better survival with the damage reduction. And once you have your special fully charged up, you can easily trigger 2 Icebergs in a single round of combat if the enemy doesn't really have guard. And on a bulkier unit like Limstella, they can definitely try and run Fire Flood Boost 3, which is a pretty underrated option for many of the units because it gives you extra attack, speed, extra HP, and also the guard effect in both phases, which definitely goes really well with this kind of weapon, which gives you the guaranteed follow-up attack in both phases and also the special charges. So you can enjoy the special charges while you can prevent the enemy from triggering their specials. So it could be an option that you can run on Limstella with Special Spiral 4. And again, Iceberg could be run for better damage output, but if you really want the healing, then Flare is also going to be an option. Attack Resistance Finish can also be run with Special Spiral 4 just for getting even more true damage on your Iceberg triggers. And if you want to have even more damage output, then you can run a special like Glacies or Ignis on many of the units and run it with Time Pulse 4 and Special Spiral 4. So this way you can loop Glacies and do a lot of damage, and Unity skills are something that you can run along with the Oath Echo skill that we have now with Attuned Peony. So this is going to be giving you that Unity effect and also the visible attack buff, which is going to be going really well with the nuking and also the ideal Sacred Seal. At the end, refreshers like Puddles can get the weapon and the Ploy skill at the same time and make use of her resistance to ploy the enemies, and also run Firestorm Dance so that she can get the Canto after dancing someone and also giving the target ally the desperation status. And you can also run Rockslide Dance 3, which gives the dot status to the target ally, and also you can run Infantry Null Follow-Up. So to an Infantry ally you can give both Null Follow-Up and the dot status at the same time, and also teleport by using the Oath Echo skill and then getting the Canto with the Rockslide Dance. And even Puddles can run the same build, but she is of course not going to be as fast as Inigo. For the Green Mage Flyers, Tea Time Ferdinand is going to be at the top with his offensive stat spread to no one's surprise, and he's a really popular 4-star focused merge project. Flavian Tharja is also going to be up there with her 48 base attack and 50 speed. And then moving on to tier 2, we do have a bit of drop off when it comes to the offenses. So we have got Flying Nino with 43 base attack and 48 speed. And she did get a weapon refine, but it's pretty old at this point, so she can try and make use of this weapon. And even Reinhardt can actually use this weapon and still make use of the dance skill because it is still allowed with the arcane weapons. Tier 2 is going to be finishing off with Summer Levitain and Bridal Tsunaki. So Summer Levitain is pretty bulky with her defense and resistance, and she can hit hard with that attack stat. Tsunaki got a weapon refine, but it was not the greatest, and she does have the resistance to make use of the ploy skills, which no other Green Mage Flyer on this tier list can do as good as she can do. And then finally in the tier 3 we have got Spring Camilla as one of the first seasonal units in FEH, and that's why her stat spread is a bit all over the place and definitely has a lot more speed than required. and if those points were gone into resistance, she could have been even more bulky, but still, she does have that defense and still can function with her attack stat. There are many Green Mage Flyers who do have good preferred weapons, and they also have preferred skills, so they don't really want to give up on that. And Spring Veronica does have a decent enough preferred weapon that provides support and also helps her in the combat. And Brave Micaiah has gotten tools like Sabotage skills and also the new Ploy skills that she can synergize with her weapon. And Triandra is going to be getting her Weapon Refine and Remix in February 2024 unless they change that. So you can definitely wait it out for Triandra, as she's probably going to be having a much better weapon and obviously much better remix for her dance skill. For building up many of the faster Green Mage Flyers, you can try and use Remote Sparrow and Brush Assault 4 and stack up the damage reduction to get 51% damage reduction in your player phase, which can definitely help you survive. And Brush Assault 4 is used a lot more for its damage reflection and also for its damage reduction than it is used for its guaranteed follow-up attack. And Dragon Fang is a special that could be used because of the special charges that Arcane Caliburnus provides you with. So you can do a lot of damage with it, and you can also run Guidance or Soaring Guidance as per usual on a Flyer to provide some support to your allies. And you can also run Flared Sparrow as a Flyer for that flame terrain and also the damage before you hit the enemy, and you can run Desperation 4 with an Oath 4 skill. So Desperation 4 is going to be activating if you move 2 or more spaces, and it is going to be counted even if you teleport, so that's why it does have good synergy with the Oath 4 skill. And because of the guaranteed follow-up attack of Arcane Caliburnus, it does function as a pseudo half-null follow-up for many of these faster Flyers and Cavaliers who don't really have easy access to it, so they can still pierce through the follow-up negation of the enemy. You can also run Glimmer with a Desperation build, because if you're going to be facing any kind of enemy with a guard skill, then you're only going to be able to get one special cooldown, and even then, Glimmer is going to be triggering on your double attack. But if you don't really care about the guard enemies, then you can just run a higher cooldown special like Luna or even Draconic Aura. For a bulky Green Mage Flyer like Summer Levitain, she can run Guard 4 to get some damage reduction and also get the guard effect while getting the special charges from her weapon. And Bonfire is something she can run so that she can retaliate back with it and also trigger it in the player phase. And you can just try and stack up the attack debuff with the Hold skill and Guard 4. And Unity skill can be a good option for the mixed phase, especially if you stack it up with Grand Strategy of Legendary Male Robin. Summer Levitain is definitely pretty flexible if you want to build her up for her defense, resistance, or just do kind of both of the things like I've tried to do with this build. And with Sanaki, you can definitely try and stack up the resistance to make use of the Ploy skill. And Fortress skill is something that you can run. Not the greatest skill because of the counter remaining movement not being all that great, but still it can be an option, and Iceberg or Glaciers could be the special of choice with this kind of build. You can also run Attack Speed Unity with the Oath Echo skill, which does provide you the teleportation, so it is going to be having good synergy with the Unity skill and also Desperation. And you can also run Soaring Guidance or Guidance 4, and you can trigger Luna on your double attack, but if you fear the guard enemies, then you can run Glimmer as well, or even Ruptured Sky if you want to, but Glimmer is overall going to be giving you better damage output. And you can stack Unity skill with Grand Strategy of Legendary Male Robin to have even more speed. And finally, you can run a more of a defensive build with Close Reversal and Guard with someone like Spring Camilla, and even Summer Levitain can run this kind of build. And you can run Bonfire so that you can retaliate back with it, but if you want to get the healing, then Ether can be the special of choice. And because we don't really have follow-up negation from the weapon, you can try and run Attack Smoke 4 so that you can get that. And Squad A Sacred Seal can be pretty good for boosting up your physical bulk. For the Green Mage Cavaliers, I don't really think that there's any kind of tier 1 Cavalier at the moment of making this video. Maybe in the future we get someone with high offensive stat spread or maybe defensive stat spread, but until then, we're going to be having no one in tier 1, and tier 2 is going to be starting off with Halloween La Rochelle, who does have 46 base attack and also has the speed, and Summer Sylvain can also make use of this weapon. His attack is not the highest by the modern standards, but still he does have that defense. And Valentine Mist and Valentine Lolina can also nuke with this weapon. And Cecilia is going to be finishing off tier 2, and even though her weapon is still pretty decent because of its Raven effect and the Triangle Adept built in the Refine, if you want to try out some other builds, then this could be the option. In tier 3 we do have Picnic Leo, and as you can see with the comparison, Cecilia is pretty much going to be doing that bulky Mage Cavalier role a bit better because of her stat spread, especially after the Resplendent stats. And finally, we've got Thunderhead Olwen, who's not going to be running Thunderhead anymore if you're going to be choosing this weapon. and a lot of the Mage Cavaliers already have pretty good preferred weapons. Even someone like Winter Burney does have that niche with the self-damage for enabling Wings of Mercy strats in Aether Raid's offense, and Letizia can still get a lot of debuffs in the combat. Summer Selena is going to be in the line for the Seasonal Refine, and from my estimate, she should be getting it around May 2024, so you can definitely try and wait until then and see if her weapon refine is good enough or not. If you have enough speed as a Mage Cavalier, then the guaranteed follow-up attack is going to be like a pseudo half null follow-up. So you can try and stack up speed with something like Remote Sparrow, and you can also get Escape Route 4 at the same time from Rearmed Sonya, and hopefully with the damage that you take and with the damage reduction of Remote Sparrow, you can enter the escape route range and get the fixed Canto 1, which is going to be better than the Canto remaining movement that you get from the Fortress skill. And you can also set up Pathfinder by using Defense Rest Smoke 3. Range Cavaliers unfortunately don't really have too many options, so this is one of the options if you're going to be having Canto on your Cavalier. And you can just run Luna as a special that could be triggered even if the enemy has got any kind of guard skill. If you're going to be going all out with a player phase build, then Flared Sparrow is obviously going to be an option, and Desperation 4 is pretty easy to trigger on these kinds of Cavaliers, as they just have to move 2 or more spaces and then they can get the follow-up attack, and you can trigger Glimmer even against the enemies with guard. And like I said, range Cavaliers don't really have too many options, so Attack Speed Menace is something you can run in the slot C if you have access to it, and Deathblow Echo could be useful on this kind of max investment build for getting that little bit of extra attack. And then you can also run Brash Assault 4 if you want to stack up the damage reduction with Remote Sparrow. So this is kind of similar to what I showed before on Flying Nino, and here we can trigger Dragon Fang on this kind of Valentine Mist, and you're going to be stacking up as much offenses as you can. And if you just want to run a standard cavalry build for the mixed phase, then Attack Speed Catch 4 could be the option for Slotty and the Sacred Seal, and the Fortress skill is available in the Divine Codes. And like I said before, if you do have Canto on your Cavalier, then you can use it to set up the Pathfinder for your allies with Defense Rest Smoke 3, so it could be an option. And then for a slower Cavalier like Cecilia, she could definitely try and make productive use out of her resistance and get the Ploy skill at the same time as the Arcane Tome, and you can try and boost up her visible resistance so that you can trigger your Ploy skill a lot better. But still, Cecilia can definitely make use of other builds, which I'm going to be showing on these Cavaliers, like the Remote Sturdy and Brash Assault build, which she can also use. And Attack Resistance Menace is going to be the option that you can run on someone like Picnic Leo, and we did get this in the limited Ephemera manuals. So you can trigger Ignis with the special charges that you get from the Arcane weapon, and you can also stack up a lot of damage reduction with his bulk. Finally, Remote Mirror is also pretty much the same thing, but on the resistance side, and it could be done on someone like Valentine Lena. We only have 4 Green Mage armors at the moment, and none of them have any kind of preferred weapon, so they can definitely try and make use of this weapon. And Winter Arthur is definitely going to be at the top with his defensive stat spread, and that's pretty much the reason why he is going to be in the upcoming Sacred Stones Hall of Forms. So you can try and give him the premium skills and also give him this Arcane Tome. And the next best option for the green armor mages is definitely going to be Valentine Alphonse, who is going to be not as tanky as Winter Arthur when it comes to the magical side of things, but still he does have that defense and can function with his attack stat. Winter Bruno is a fast armor, but even then, unfortunately, he's not really as fast as a lot of the modern far save armor should be, because the threats nowadays are insanely fast. So keeping up with them as a fast armor is going to be tough, and especially when you don't really have that much raw bulk. So that's why he's going to be in tier 3. And then finally we've got Halloween Henry here, who doesn't really have as much attack as Bruno and can function as a fast mage armor, but Bruno does have a bit more HP while Henry has got a bit more resistance. With Arcane Caliburnus' special charges, you can try and retaliate back with Armored Flow, which is going to be doing a lot of damage, and it is also going to be helping you with the damage reduction that it provides against the specials. And Guard 4 can be run in this slot B because a lot of the fighter skills do have the overlap with Arcane Caliburnus with their effects. Like if you run Special Fighter 4, then you can of course get the healing, but you're going to be overlapping with the special charges. And if you want to get the Guard effect, then Guard 4 can also work out, but it really depends on the fodder that you've got. And then for the slot A, you can try and run a Unity skill like Attack Resistance Unity, so that can help you against the debuffs. And of course, on these armor units, you want to be running the Far Save skill and stacking up their bulk. And for a fast armor like Winter Bruno, he wants to run Savvy Fighter 4 to get the damage reduction and also the full null follow-up. And Kestrel Stance 3 could be run in the slot A to get the guard effect. and you just want to stack up as much speed as you possibly can on these kinds of fast armors. For the slower armors, they can even run Special Spiral 4 because Arcane Caliburnus is going to be setting it up with the special charges, and you can retaliate back with armored flows that are going to be piercing through the damage reduction of the enemy, and that can actually be pretty helpful against many of the nukes because nowadays a lot of nukes have any kind of damage reduction which can make them survive the hits of these safe tanks, so piercing their damage reduction can be helpful many times. And if you do get him in holo forms, then Fire Flood Boost 3 can be an option that you can try and get for that extra HP, that bulk, and also for the guard effect. And you can just stack up a lot of attack and resistance on him so that he can hit hard with his armored flows. Finally, we have Halloween Henry, and attack speed unity along with Savvy Fighter 4 is going to be an option for these faster mage armor so that they can stack up even more speed. This is going to be my final Arcane Caliburnus tier list, and as expected, the infantry units use this really well because of the options that they've got available, like Magical Null Follow-Up and Special Spiral 4, the finish skills and everything. And then the other units can also make use of this as a pseudo half null follow-up if they're fast, and if they're slow, then the guaranteed follow-up attack can definitely help them. Make sure to share this video with your friends if they're having trouble deciding who to give this arcane weapon to. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps you tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks down below or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more FEH videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube set boxes are about as functional as foes attack and resistance buff against this arcane weapon. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.